It's Matt Wallace and another episode of Music Quest. And we're very happy today to be talking to the one and only Mark Harrell. Mark Harrell. How's it going, buddy?
Thank you, Matt. Thanks.
It is it's fun to have you. And you were on my list as well of people I wanted to talk to.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. We've got some people already in the chat, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
We've got Alex and Jamie and Keith and Dale. Everybody's saying hi. And
hi, everybody.
If somebody writes something particularly profound that I need to share with you, I'll put it on the screen for you.
Okay,
But for example, this is hold it. What did I do with my screens? Oh, see, I already screwed up.
Well, we're just having fun. Hey,
one of my screens disappeared. I'm gonna I got to figure out how I can do that. So, Mark Harrell.
Yes, sir.
You are a gentleman that has became a very important part of the Wallace life. Back, I guess, in the early 90s. Is that correct?
1993.
All right. Well, why don't you do me a favor and share with everybody the initial moments, as you remember, of when we became aware of each other. So I want to hear your version of this.
Well, I was booking through a booking agent in Dallas, and they needed a female vocalist on this particular gig they were going to put me on, and so they pointed out Miriam, and I said, well, let me meet with her. And we met and looked over what songs she does and what we do. And there was the beginning there. So we played the gig, and the first one, Miriam brought her keyboard with her, and did some background strings and whatever she could put in. And it was a
that just
trio
sounds
gig.
That just sounds like extra inputs that you have to mix. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's not it. It's if you don't rehearse these things,
right,
with two of the same instruments, you can sound like a train wreck at some time. So, and it was better to have Miriam as the showcase part, out front. Booking agents like that. They like something that looks like they're leading the audience, and not just a guy sitting around or a girl sitting behind a keyboard running the show. So
wow,
it's all in theatrics.
So now I appreciate the accuracy of what you just shared. Okay. That's absolutely 100% correct. But you also know the version of the story we tell, right?
I know the version you tell.
So do you want to tell your version of my version?
Oh, hold
on one second. If you're on this stream right now and familiar with Mother Merm's Twitch stream, that's probably where a lot of people know. Mark is referring, when we talk about Miriam, that's my wife, that is Mother Merm, but he doesn't know her as Mother Merm. It's Miriam. So when he tells the story, I just want to make sure you know that he's talking Mother Merm.
That's good, yeah. Because at the time we met, she was not Mother Merm, she was Miriam, or at time Merm, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know the story you want to tell, Matt. Is that when we're sitting I met her at a Jack in the Box, I think, and we were sitting there going over song lists, and sometimes you never know what's going to come out of my mouth, and I started off the meeting with, I really don't like chick singers, so.
Yep.
And
that's what I remember.
Matt really loved to, and Miriam really loved to retell that story because. Well, and I had worked with very few female vocalists after I got out of college. I worked with some in college that were really, two of them that were really good. And so anyway, it was, but Miriam completely changed my view of female vocalist. So
So
because
okay,
she's
so
she's
I
about the best. Yeah.
yeah, I think Miriam is quite good. However, it's not unfair to you because there are certain stereotypes that chick singers have earned, or maybe it's not fair, but there are certain stereotypes that I don't want to put you on the spot. But from my perspective, chick singers are known to be high maintenance, maybe not as good as they would like to think they are, and often don't know all the music. And so
Yeah, if they
that
don't.
was that part of the reason why you weren't fond of
Well,
working with chick singers at
well,
that
you never
time.
know if uh, it comes down to, a lot of it comes down to, if the female vocalist does not play an instrument and they can't tell you what key they're singing the song in, then there's a problem that's going to resurface all the time.
Yeah,
So it that's part of it. And like you said, some of them think the world revolves around them, you know,
mm-hmm. Yep.
and and sometimes they're right, but at the same time, you won't get very far with a chip on your shoulder when you're working with musicians. You have to forget your ego, and it's a team sport when you get on stage,
Right.
and you're often given your little spot to shine, so you let the sax player do a solo, or the drum player do a solo,
Fair
and
enough.
so I'm firmly believe in that myself. Is to I mean, these guys I made sure when I hired musicians, I hired somebody that I consider really better than me. And it's a good thing, good way to go, because you learn from them, and they've been around the block. So
Well, okay, so like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but the fact of the matter is that would have been 30 years ago, right?
yeah,
This year, 30
hmm
years ago is when we
yeah,
first met Mark Harrell. And what was the
hmm
name of your band? I love the name of the band.
which one? I think it was Mark 3 or Mark 4. I went
I
with
thought,
that for a while.
oh, you did? So I just
Yeah.
remember the Dominant Seven because,
Oh, became that after so many years. But for a long time, I went with, depending on how many people were in the band for this
right.
particular gig, it would be Mark 3, Mark 4, Mark 5, and I did that for a long time. And then we went to the Dominant thing, and I did that it's kind of a innuendo talking about music, because you have the Dominant Seven is
Mm-hmm.
a description of the uh, uh, the 5 chord in a in a leading song, in a song that leads to the root. So
So let's use that as a vector. Let's go there. Tell me about your formal training. When did it start? Like how did you have family ties beforehand? Where did your training? Where did your musicality start in your particular life back in the day?
uh, it started when I was 4 years old, actually, and I have no idea what I sounded like, but I sang a song at my grandma and granddad were uh, uh, Masons and Eastern Star. Eastern Star was the women's portion, and the Mason was the men, and so but they come together, and so during the I think my granddad was the whatever they called the head Mason for the year or something, and so I sang a song at just when I was 4 years old at this with a piano player. And like I say, I don't know what I sounded like, but of course my mother was real proud of me, and my dad. So that was actually where it started. But then when I got into second grade, my mother talked my dad into buying a piano, and I started taking lessons with somebody when we moved to Jefferson, Texas in 1956.
So you have brothers that are musical as well?
Yeah. Well, we all at one time took piano lessons, and me and my youngest brother Tony are the ones
Kind of took?
it kind of took. Yeah. So, but now you like my brother Chris. He's the now he's the middle child, but my brother an age next to me, younger than me, Wesley, died several years ago. Passed away at the young age of 63 years old. Um, so
You get together and talk to them pretty regularly. You Zoom, right?
yeah,
That started up
we
with COVID and everything, right?
yeah, it started when, well, actually, probably before COVID. You know, my brother Chris actually started it off, and because Friday afternoon, as he put it, is when he gets off his day job, and it belongs to him. So uh, we started doing this a few years ago, and it really brought us together. Since I don't get to go to Nashville as much as I used to, um, so it's a great thing. We do a video chat on I forget what we use. It's not Zoom. It's uh, Google Meet, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I I enjoyed getting to know a couple of extra things, but I also intentionally I learned a couple of extra things about you that I didn't know in prep for this. But at the same time, I intentionally don't go too deep so that I can ask more questions as part of the interview.
Sure.
Just because it's the whole discovery thing makes it more fun. But one of the things in the preparation for this is gave me some background on some places you've lived. And a lot of East Texas, Northeast Texas, I should say.
Yeah.
Jefferson. Tell me about how Louisiana. Is it Vivian?
Yeah.
What time of part of your life did you live there?
When I was in the first grade, 6 years old, we moved there uh, with my dad's job. He started with an oil company out of Houston, Skurlock Oil Company, an independent oil producer out of Houston, and the first place sent him was it's actually it's Vivian is probably 5 miles from the Texas border, so it's really
It's
so
just
we were there for
it's
two
East
years.
Texas.
It's where East Texas overflows into Louisiana, or the
Oh,
other way.
all right.
And we were there. I was there the first grade, and we moved to Jefferson when I was in the second grade of elementary school. And
What?
so
Okay,
Vivian
so
was,
what part of that world that where you grew up, culture wise, it colors who you are. Like I don't know. I'm from West Texas, and West Texas and East Texas are different.
yeah, they are.
So
Yeah.
tell me about what aspects of growing up there kind of made its way into who you are, your personality, and then if there's any musical overtones, tell me about that if you don't mind.
Well, I mentioned, either Texas or Louisiana overflowing into each other. It's more of Louisiana overflowing into East Texas because there's a lot of the culture out of Louisiana that overflows into Texas, especially the music part. Uh,
And what is that? I mean, because you've
well,
lived it, but most people wouldn't know that.
I'll give you an example. When I was 6 years old, my mother talked my dad into going to the Louisiana Hayride when Elvis was playing there, and so I really don't remember that at the age I was, but that's and the Louisiana Hayride was quite a. Uh, I ended up going there up into until the time it ended, um, into college, and saw a lot of country acts there. Uh,
Well, if
so
anybody watching this doesn't know about the Louisiana Hayride, it's a key part of music development in the United States and in the world. Is that a
yeah,
fair statement?
yeah, it was kind of the Louisiana's version of the Grand Ole Opry.
Absolutely.
It was
So you
and
spent some
so
time.
it
You grew up in East Texas and
yeah.
that culture. But I also see here that you lived out in New Mexico and Midland. Now that is right down the road from where I grew up. So
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing
It's the
if you're from East Texas, you probably didn't. You've got plenty to say about how attractive West Texas is. Is that fair?
it's I'll try to keep my language clean. It was actually New Mexico is much more interesting than West Texas. uh, we called it the armpit of Texas is Midland, Odessa, and
So you listed Midland though, because where
I
I'm
lived
from,
I lived in Carlsbad, New Mexico
right?
first, and that's where I met my first wife, and uh, I was playing with a band there in out of Carlsbad, and they kind of moved to a big country joint in Midland uh, called the D&D Corral, and it was just a big dance hall kind of thing, and a lot of what we did there was we had a four-piece band, played keyboard and doubled on trumpet and sang. Also, we had a drummer and bass player and a guitar player, and the guitar player also doubled on sax. And we would. This is when some of the early acts were going around promoting their first hit, uh, and they would come into places like this. And the house band, we were the house band, played there 5 or 6 nights a week, would back up different artists. And I'm trying to think of some of them we did. Barbara Fairchild, Tony Booth, uh, one other guy. Anyway, it was interesting, and I was there for. I mean, I stayed there probably a year,
Uh huh.
and took a vacation after a year and for 2 weeks. And Becky and I drove to California. When I got back, I did not have a job there anymore. So,
Oh, nice.
so
So
you, anyway, that's
Carlsbad, New Mexico is famous for what, Mark? I know the answer to this, but tell everybody
yeah,
what
the
Carlsbad's famous for.
Carlsbad Caverns and the potash mines.
Yeah, Carlsbad Cavern. Carlsbad Caverns were the reason why people would have ever gone through my hometown of Andrews. That
Yeah,
was why. If anybody went through Andrews, it was either they worked in
there.
the oil field or they're going to Carlsbad Caverns.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's quite a place to see the caverns. It's
actually,
huge.
yes, yeah, that they are massive. But uh, West Texas is beautiful to me, but it is not what most. I tell people, no matter I'm from Andrews, so no matter where I go on the planet, it's beautiful. That's what I tell
Yeah,
people.
yeah. You're it's a step up. Well, I mean, there are some unique, I guess, landmarks here and there out there.
The
Um,
main thing for me is the sunsets and the sunrises. I mean, it's
yeah,
all sky. I mean, there's nothing
yeah.
blocking the
You
view.
can see forever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
And
So, they also have Arlington. How long did you live in the DFW area?
moved there in 1977.
So,
Um, and rented a house. I actually had sent my some kind of homemade tape to try to get some gigs in Dallas Fort Worth, and ended up running into another uh, a solo act kind of guy, and he put me on to some places to call, and we ended up. He was moving, taking a gig in Florida, and was giving up the house he was renting, and we ended up going into the house that he rented with the option that he could come back and we would move somewhere else if that happened. But that did not happen. We ended up staying in that house until we actually bought it uh, in 1980, maybe. Yeah.
So I got a comment. So um, here's a comment. Can you read that on the screen? We got a chatter.
I think the starkness and tenacity of people in West Texas is what appeals to me. Well, you got a point. Yeah.
Yeah. That is yeah, there's a certain vibe that I can spot. And I don't always I always don't know somebody's from West Texas, but when I meet them and I like them a lot, there's a certain vibe to it. And I'm like, oh, they're from Pecos, or they're from Fort Stockton, or they're from Levelland, or someplace like that.
Or no trees.
Yeah.
You ever been to No Trees?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I mean,
I ended up working a lot of places in Odessa and Midland. First of all, with this band that moved there, and then I got with the bass player, and I did a duo for several years, and we played at a hotel in actually Odessa called the Inn of the Golden West.
Oh, that's a whole stream by itself. That place.
Yeah.
I knew the guy who was the accountant for that place, and there was some interesting things that happened at that.
Yeah, it was there was two clubs in the place, and they faced each other.
Pinky's, right? Pinky's Liquor owned all of that.
Probably, yeah.
No, they did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I forget which floor of the hotel, but there was a lounge on either side of the hotel, and probably the elevator part separated the two, and so there was live music in both clubs.
It was a place.
It was the centerpiece of I guess nightlife in Odessa, if there ever was one. But it was a good place to play. Played there, and we played up another little restaurant club in Midland, and one of the most interesting places that me and the bass player Bill Barrett worked was a private club out on the outskirts of Midland, and it was owned by a guy named Bubba Stewart, and it was a place. It was an after hours. We played there from midnight till 4 in the morning. And it was the kind of place that you walk up and knock on the door, and Bubba would open a little window to see if he knew who it was, and then would let you in. And you walk in, and he's got a 38 stuffed in his waistband, just to keep everybody under control. That's the kind of place one of the places we played that was quite interesting.
I want to finish this one thought up while we're at it. So you moved to the DFW area back in the 70s, and were there. Yeah. That's where we met you. You spent a significant amount of time of your gigging life there, and then you lived in Linden for a little bit, but then you ended up in Canada where you are now. You don't have to get too personal. You don't have to go into too many details, but I mean, what can you share about how you ended up there?
Well,
and as a Texan, what it's like. Now, I have an idea where you might go with this, but give everybody else a short, like, what's it like for a Texan to live up there?
I better be careful how I answer that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You should be, but at the same time, I'd love to hear. The fact of the matter is, you're in Canada right now, and you've got good reason to be there. So, what is that?
The woman I'm married to, Susan, and well, we have a long story that goes back to 1970. when I was in college, I worked on one of the summers. Uh, a friend of mine and I worked in the Aspen uh, School of Music in the summertime. It's a school of music for talented, uh, top of the notch uh, classical musicians from high schools and colleges, and it had a who's who type people there teaching in the summer, and so that's where I met Sue, and we had a quite a lively summer there, and and we tried dating for a couple of years after I left and went back to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas, and actually went up to the Christmas of that year. I went to Calgary, where Sue was from, and spent a month there of December, and then the next May she came down to Texas and stayed a month there, or a couple of months, uh, and it was difficult dating somebody in a different country because of
Yeah.
the lack of communication. It was either letters by snail mail or pay an arm and a leg for a long distance telephone.
Clearly before internet.
No, internet was not a word then.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's where we met, and after that, we kind of lost touch with each other, and after, in the midst of my divorce and hers, she tracked me down, and it ended up us kind of picking up where we left off. Once we kind of reintroduced ourselves to each other, and really realized that we were still the same people, because some people do quite a bit of a change when they get older, and I'm still as Texas as I ever was.
So the thing is, though, is because of where you met, one should go ahead and guess, but I just want to clearly state it. Your wife, initial girlfriend, second wife, is a talented musician. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? I think you would probably enjoy bragging on her skill a little bit, right?
I mean, she was one that started actually started on a what are those called? Not a flute, but what is it, Sue? She's watching right now. Anyway, and she was ended up being kind of a child prodigy, because once she started, got off the
like a recorder or something.
Recorder. That's the word I was looking for. She got off the recorder into flute, and then that was when she was, I guess, maybe 14 or 15. And then took flute lessons for 2 years, and then ended up playing in the Calgary
like Philharmonic? Oh, symphony. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So she is a talented musician in her own right. And we'll get back to music today a little bit. So that should give people a pretty good idea of where Mark Harrell came from, why he's on this, why I know you, and kind of where you've been. So I want to kind of go back in time again, if you don't mind. We got some pictures. I asked for some pictures, and you offered them to me. So I've got. Let me see if I can pull this up correctly.
Well, most of them are on my
Facebook page.
Facebook page, yeah.
So tell me about these pictures.
Okay, the one with the 4-piece band dressed in red shirts. That was the first band I played in when I was starting when I was 15 years old. And it was a friend of mine. His the guitar player in the middle, his dad was an undertaker in town. and he and the other guitar player Terry wanted to start a band, and the drummer Tommy Carter had never, didn't study drums. He just wanted to do that, and we all kind of learned on our own. I mean, Eddie, the guitar player, had played some other instruments. He was in band in high school, played clarinet. I played trumpet in the band, and
So
so
you're not
it ended
15 in
up.
that other picture. You're
No, that
older
was
in that.
yeah, that was at Stephen F. Austin in
Oh, okay,
college.
that's college. Because I said
And
that's not a 15-year-old guy there.
no. But back to the band picture,
Uh-huh.
they needed a bass guitar player, and so I was the one left out. Um, and my dad found a guitar and a amp in Shreveport at a pawn shop for $30, and that's the guitar I played on.
Well,
Anyway,
that just says that you have some parental encouragement in your
I
musical
did,
endeavors.
both my mother and dad.
That's excellent.
And then the other picture is me at Stephen F. Austin University in the marching band. It was taken at a football game.
Those are some serious sideburns you got going there, buddy.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's some other pictures.
Mm-hmm.
This is that same young band, or there's some older guys in that. So
No,
tell me about.
this is a completely different band.
Okay.
After the other band, I got with a band in Marshall, Texas, which is just 15 miles down the road, and originally they were called the Seven Sons, and good band. And the picture there on the left is we were playing my high school junior senior prom,
Okay.
and we only took 4 of the members just because of the lack of funding. But I'm glad I have that picture. Larry, the guitar player on the right, he ended up being a DJ at a radio station in Dallas and had a recording studio that did a lot of where he made some pretty good cash was doing radio IDs where they'd have
Yeah.
a
Jingle, not a jingle, but
it's a jingle with voice doing whatever
right.
letters were the radio, and so he did a lot of that and had a studio that did that. And I've lost contact with the sax player. The drummer died probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And
So
now the
Soul
same band is
Generation.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, the band on the right was what we ended up renaming the band, and we had three
That's 8.
three horn players, and the guy that played some organ, like a Farfisa organ, and I played bass guitar, and we had 3 horn players, and one of the horn players was Randy McNeil, was the keyboard, and his dad played sax, and he actually ran the band and kept us out of trouble, which was quite a job there. But it was, and we worked for, played a lot of teenage dances, played some fraternity dances, and at some of the local junior colleges, and some at Stephen F. Austin, and some played a lot in Shreveport. We used to play at a Catholic CYO school would have dances on the weekends, and did a lot of that. There was a teenage club in Bossier we played, and so it was a good band.
So your early gigging days, you played bass. I mean the thing that. So were you actively practicing piano at that time, or did you come back to it later? And So you were playing bass in the band, but you were still very actively pursuing piano and trumpet
Yeah,
simultaneously. So, okay.
yeah. Because
So
I
that was a
studied when I got to Stephen F. Austin University. I studied with um, studied piano and trumpet and voice, and had some good teachers, and uh, so I ended up playing some gigs, a lot of gigs on piano and some on bass. So it was,
you were doing
and I
it.
had, yeah, I'm still doing it, and of course, my one of the inspirations was one of um, the guy that ran the jazz band. The
Okay.
and
So you okay?
I played.
So you listed for me some influential people, and I don't know all the names on this list, but I'm guessing Daryl Holt and Dr. Gene Hall is that one of them that you were referring to? Or is it
Yeah,
somebody else?
Daryl Holt was the jazz band director at Stephen F. And
Okay.
he was a piano player, singer, and trumpet player. And I
Hmm.
had known him for a long time because I went to band camp every summer at Stephen F. Austin from the time I was in the fifth grade when I
Oh
first started
wow.
band until I graduated high school. And some of these people that attended there every summer ended up going to school there.
Yeah.
And when I was going to the band camp, Daryl was he was a student at I think it's Sam Houston, and then went Sam Houston University in
Hmm.
Huntsville,
Okay.
Texas, and then moved to teaching school at Stephen F. Austin. And so I had actually known him
For a
from the
long
time I
time.
was a
Yeah.
lot shorter. And so it was and he was quite an inspiration because he was a good musician. And Dr. Gene Hall, he came from North Texas and was the head of the music department for 3 or 4 years while I was there at Stephen F. Austin. And actually, Gene Hall was the guy that got the jazz program at North Texas started.
Really?
He was the one that developed the first uh, degree for jazz musicians.
Well, that is not everybody knows about North Texas, but our daughter went there, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the players that Miriam used to gig with went there. And
Mm-hmm.
I did not understand and appreciate that connection with you back in the day there. So that's cool.
Yeah, he
Um,
taught me. He's taught me scoring and arranging and music appreciation, and he developed a course there with African American music history,
mhm.
and the guy had been around the block. He played with Stan Kenton. He was a sax player and a really entertaining personality kind of guy.
Well, cool.
And but I feel lucky to know the guy and to study with him.
Well,
But
apart
yeah,
from
about North Texas, that so many of the guys that worked in my band over the years there in
right,
Dallas Fort Worth went to school in North Texas.
yeah,
Not all of them, but
a lot
they
of them.
produced a great uh, bunch of musicians over the years and still are doing it. Like
Absolutely,
Morgan went to school there. Yeah.
yeah. So apart from those two professors, you had a list of musical influences. I know some of them. I don't know some of them. I'm going to just read the list real quick so that people can know that. But I would appreciate it if you tell me a couple of these people who they are, because
Mm-hmm.
so I know Otis Redding, Edgar Winter, Mose Allison. I don't know that one.
He's a jazz
Um,
pianist.
okay. Oscar Peterson. Don't know that
Yeah,
one.
jazz piano. Oh, you need to know him. In
I
fact,
can
he's
well
Canadian also.
all right. Well see I I don't mind letting people know that I don't know, but
Yeah.
you can't know everything, but this is how
No,
you
you
learn.
can't.
So people that watch this in the future, if they don't know these names, now, like I said, these
Hmm.
other names I do know. If you don't know them, go look them up too. Count
Yeah.
Basie, I do know that one
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
Sinatra, Willie Nelson, Leon Roush. I don't know
Yeah.
that one.
He was the lead singer for Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Oh, well, I definitely know that band. My dad, that's a thing. My dad
Yeah.
is a
And
and
he took
yeah.
the place. There was two vocalists for Bob Wills. The first one was a guy named Tommy Duncan, and when Tommy died, Leon came on and took his place and played with. I guess he was probably with Bob Wills for 20 years.
Wow. Tommy Alsop.
Yeah,
I don't know that one.
Tommy. Yeah, he's the most unsung hero of the behind the scene music scene. He was the guitar player in Buddy Holly's band when Buddy Holly died
Okay. Wow.
in a plane crash. And the story is that Tommy would have been on that plane, but he flipped a coin with uh, um, what was the guy?
Lil Bamba guy?
No, the other guy,
The Big Bopper?
Big Bopper. He flipped a coin with the big, and the Bopper went on the plane, and Tommy stayed behind.
It's
And
good coin toss.
yeah, so and Waylon Jennings was the bass player in that band,
Okay.
and so Tommy became he's lived in Los Angeles, lived in New York, and spent a lot of his time in Nashville.
Okay.
He produced some of the really early Willie Nelson stuff. Produced "Sleep at the Wheel" when they won their first Grammy,
Okay.
uh, and he's produced a lot of people,
Very good.
and along with playing with a lot of bands. But what his claim to fame started with Buddy Holly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
The last two names on your list are Elvis and Leon Russell. And
mm-hmm.
so I mean that gives
But
people
I left out one
okay.
that was actually one of my heroes growing up was Ray Charles.
Oh, okay.
Learned a lot from Ray Charles. I have had tons of his records, and you know, when you're making a list of people, you're obviously going to forget somebody. But Ray was a big big influence on the way I played.
So there was Ken Burns did a documentary on country music. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
heard about it or saw it, but it was outstanding. It was really, really well done. In
Yeah.
that documentary, I learned about the significance of Ray Charles's country hits, where he did the double album, took
Mm-hmm.
straight up country music and did his version of them.
Yeah.
And really, according to that documentary, he kind of revitalized country music at a point where it was really, really struggling in the larger
Mm-hmm.
world, commercially and stuff like that. And I have that album on my phone, and it's
Yeah.
outstanding. I
It
mean,
is.
I like Ray Charles anyhow, but when he's doing these just old country standards, but his version of it, they're
Mm-hmm. With a
good.
big band. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good album, and it's
It
if you look
is.
for it, it's all red. I think I forget what it's called, but it's a double album, Ray Charles country music. So check that out. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to get back to some of these pictures. Thank you for covering some of that. So we're going to go back to and I want to know more about what was
Let
going.
me.
Go
There's a
ahead.
couple of influences that I don't want to forget, and which I mean, my brother Tony. Of course, he's 10 years younger than me, but he watched me go through, you know, moving away from home and trying to, you know, and trying to get into some kind of music career, and he he ended up doing a great job on his own, and we've over the years spent a lot of time together and wrote a bunch of tunes together, and we've actually played some gigs. We played some dueling piano gigs. Um, but he's my, as far as supporting
Right.
family support, he and my brothers and my mother and dad were supportive of all of us into music,
That's
wondering
fantastic.
how we're going to make a living with music.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a thing.
me too.
Yeah. So you said a couple more. Was there another one beyond your brother?
Well, yeah, as of when I was growing up and playing in the Soul Generation band, when we weren't working, I would hang out in Linden and listen to Don Henley and Richard Bowden and uh, uh, what's his name? Jerry Surratt, and who was a guitar player? Anyway,
Yeah,
called the Four
I can't
Speeds.
help you. I
Yeah,
can't help you with this
yeah.
one.
But anyway, they were called the Four Speeds, and they were played a lot of local American Legion halls where you would rent the place and have your parents take money at the door. We did that in Jefferson a lot.
All right.
When I was in the band. But Richard Bowden has been a great friend after I was grown and got to know him, and he moved back to Linden, and he's one of my closest friends there. But my brothers are they're I I value them more than anything.
Well, I am glad you included them in that list. So tell me, I'm guessing some people listening would have caught that name, but they probably don't know the connection. So tell people about the whole connection with Don Henley.
Well, just growing up, listening to him play in his local, I guess you'd call him garage band, but got further than that. And all the guys were talented, but I didn't.
What you didn't say though is to clearly state that that's his hometown.
Yeah, it is. Linden is his hometown, and Richard and Henley are still close friends.
Yeah. So tell people about the shirt you have on.
Oh, from Music City, Texas. That's the okay. There's a in Linden. They built in 1950 built a American Legion Hall, but it ended up being a place that the whole community used at some point, and it was put together really well. It has a permanent stage in it. Uh, I mean, off the floor stage. Has lighting, built-in curtains. Pull the curtain here, the show starts, kind of thing. And it was really put together, and it went through several owners and different things that companies that owned it and made different products, but it ended up being kind of abandoned, and uh, Don Henley and Richard and some of the local people took it upon themselves and actually bought it from the city with the promise that they would restore it, and now it's become uh, a place where some of the major acts go in and play. It's a small venue, it seats 400 people. Has and it has a great history. I used to play there once a month with Richard and kind of a house band there, and it's a great place to play, and the acoustics are just perfect. Once they took, originally there was a false ceiling put in,
Uh huh.
and once when Richard and Henley and the other guys started working on it, they took down the false ceiling, and what ended up there's a curve. The roof is curved, and all the woodwork holding up the ceiling, rafters and stuff, is exposed now,
Mm-hmm.
and it made the sound the sound in there. You can shoot the room, and it's perfect kind of sound.
That's great.
Not an echo like a basketball gym kind of thing. So they've
Well,
had some great acts come through there. I mean, Henley played there a couple of times. Jackson Brown, Merle Haggard, George Jones. The whole smear of country artists that some of them are not
sure.
here anymore. So
Yeah. Okay. So that is kind of where you came from, who you are. That's super. That gives everybody kind of paints a picture. So I want to go back to some of these pictures. Okay.
okay.
I want to know. I want to know what was going on at this point in your life and what season, what years those were.
The one on the far left was taken when I was still in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and I took it. I forget who took it for me, but it was to be a promo picture, and I sent
Uh-huh.
to some places in Dallas and Fort Worth, uh, along with a terrible homemade cassette tape,
Uh-huh.
And the picture in the middle is the bass player I was telling you about, that we did a duo for several years, playing the Holiday Inn, Ramada Inn lounges across New Mexico, Texas, and Louisiana and Florida.
So
And
there's curly hair on the left, there's straight hair in the middle, and then you got a full on fro going on the right one. Now,
yeah.
what years were these pictures?
The reason my hair is straight in that picture in the middle is because I would straighten it with a hair dryer and a brush because I was tired of my curly hair. But once you got into the humidity, guess what? It was not
Yeah.
straight anymore. So the two pictures on either side are actually what my hair really looked like. I didn't have to curl it or anything. That's just naturally
Wow.
kinky.
Well,
Naturally kinky.
uh-huh.
Now, since my hair is receding and I'm up here in where the air is so dry, you can nothing is humid here in Winterpeg. It's so the hair gets, once I get back into Texas, I get some kink back in my hair because of
Yeah.
the humidity. But that's the way my hair actually naturally is. And of
So
course,
what year is that magnificent picture on the right?
I'm guessing it was probably 79 or 80 or 81,
That
something like
late?
that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. I would have thought it was more in the middle of the 70s, but that's the thing.
Well, it started in the 70s because
Sure,
the
absolutely.
one on the far left was probably taken in 1976,
All right.
and this was taken. The one in the middle, see, was taken before either one of the other ones.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Um,
Well, let's look at some other pictures. Let me try some
yeah,
other
pull
ones
them
here.
up. Yeah.
There we go. Tell me about these pictures.
Let's see. On the left, it was that was taken at Bob Rice Studios in Dallas. That was probably taken in the mid '80s, maybe,
Okay.
or early '80s. Not too much longer than the older one on that you just left. my hair was just shorter then. It's still curly. Now the top picture on the right is in the studio, Summit Sound Studio, with me and Leon Roush in the middle, and Dave Stanley on the right, and I think the guy on the facing the back to us is probably Nardo or anyway.
So
And then
what were
the
y'all
bottom
doing there?
picture,
What in that studio picture? What were y'all working on?
that was in 1984. We were working on Leon Rouse's album he put out, and
Okay.
I played piano. And the bottom picture on the right is, in the far left is Dave Stanley. In the middle was Bugs Henderson and me. It
So
was
who are
taken
those
at
guys?
Bugs Henderson and well, he's a well-known guitar player that ended up in Dallas,
Hmm.
uh, and they worked in a band when I was in high school and college called Mouse and the Traps,
All right.
and of course Bugs died 3 years ago, maybe. Uh,
So
and
what were you guys at? Were you at some sort of music
we
event
were
or
the International Guitar Show in Dallas,
okay?
and it was probably in, who knows. Uh,
So I would use that as a segue as well. When did you switch from bass and start primarily doing piano? When did that transition happen?
um, in college,
Okay. So
my
that's
my jazz band director got me some gigs locally there, and at a kind of a hotel lounge, and but I would still play some bass with some other gigs. I think I did but mostly piano then.
so I
And
think
when
it's interesting. You're a trumpet player,
yeah,
and but have you gigged much ever as a trumpet player?
yeah, I
Like
did when through the from when I used to play a solo gig when I moved to Dallas. I mean, moved to Arlington. I played a lot of solo gig places, and I would play piano and trumpet.
at the same time?
I, yeah, I would sing. I would sing playing piano, and then I would pick up my trumpet and play chords with my left hand and so the melody with my right hand with trumpet. I did
Oh
that for a
wow.
long time, and
There you
then
go.
after in 1982 or 83, well, in 1980, I played in a band in Dallas for a while with a female vocalist and a couple other guys I still know, and I played trumpet with them. And when I was after that, I played with Tommy Allsup for a couple of years at a place in Fort Worth called the New West Club. And Tommy had a 8-piece band. Yeah, had a three horn. I played trumpet and piano and sang. Then we had two sax players, and a drummer, bass player, guitar player, and a steel guitar player that also doubled on fiddle. It was quite a talented band.
That's a band, man. They got
Yeah,
stuff going
and
on. So
we
okay,
would have one of the times there at the New West Club. Tommy was well known in Nashville, and he got people to come by and sit in with us from time to time.
hmm
Um, Larry Gatlin came by one time. The most memorable one was uh, Jerry Lee Lewis was playing in Dallas, and they were doing an early show, so Tommy got all of Jerry Lee's band come and sit with us, and they played half the night with us, which was James Burton on guitar, Bob Moore on bass, Kenny, whatever his name, that played guitar with Jerry, and uh, that's it. Yeah,
Some
those three.
players, some guys who knew
Yeah,
how to play.
yeah. James Burton, of course, is the king of country chicken picking guitar.
There you go.
Played with
So,
Rick Nelson and Elvis.
so now I got some more pictures, and this one is going to be something that some people might recognize as well.
Oh,
There's Mark Harrell in the Dominant Seven,
yeah.
and there's Miriam out front in her red top, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that saxophone player and the bass player and the drummer, and then there you are
Mm-hmm.
on keys. So
Keith Jordan on trumpet and Paul Cruteau on sax and Brent Dacus on drums and Brian Worthen on bass.
I can't see the guitar player from this angle.
Uh, who
No, you had different guitar
probably
players.
he probably was not in the picture. It was probably uh shoot
Doesn't matter.
Terry. I'll think of it in a minute.
So, yeah, there you go. That's back in the day. This would have been the mid '90s, right? I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember when that picture would have been taken.
Yeah.
So there is. I see what else we got here picture wise. Tell me about these pictures.
Oh, that's
Wha-
uh, uh, Michael Murphy
Yep.
and his wife
Uh
and
huh.
me, and then me in the middle. That was taken at a jazz gig I did in Shreveport. It was a they used to do one of the TV stations used to do it was called Jazz on the Red,
Uh huh.
and uh, I played that day with a bass player and a vibes player and a drummer,
Okay.
and no guitar. We don't
So
need no stinking
so
guitar.
so
And
who's the right one? Who's the right picture?
that was at a we used to play. Uh, I played. There was a girl out of Jefferson that was a hairdresser that started this book club
Uh huh.
called the Pulpwood Queens,
I've
and
heard that. I heard that
and
because
she
of you.
has and she has she's still going. I mean, has written a book, uh, did some tried doing some TV spots about that, and so this was at every she would do an event every year called Girlfriend Weekend,
Uh huh.
and I played that for several years with either my band. I think Richard Bowden played with us one year, and but I think Miriam did a couple of them with us, and so that was just it was a kind of a costume ball called the hair
Right.
ball, and
The
uh,
airball.
it was she was a hairdresser that
Uh huh.
turned uh, the reason she went with a book club.
Uh huh.
She was a she was worked as a book rep for a large publisher, and when that went south, she went back to hairdressing. And but still, she was an avid reader, and she was it was done. She started this to kind of promote reading books
Mm-hmm.
to kids growing up and everybody. So she would have book club meetings and have authors that showed up and met a lot of people from all over playing these parties, and
Uh huh.
they were just way too much fun.
Okay, so I want to use that as a segue as well. Let me see if I got any other pictures I want to look at. Well, this one you didn't provide. I found this one, and I know this one.
Uh-oh.
This
Oh
is a cover of an album, right?
yeah.
Back in the day, or a project, or you had it on your
No, it
website.
was no.
Just a
I
good picture, man.
thank you. I took that picture.
Oh, you did? How'd you do that?
Well, with a timer,
Timer, yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
put it on a at that time it was a pretty good digital camera. Put it on
Uh-huh.
a tripod,
Yeah.
and this was taken at a 9 foot grand piano at the Excelsior House Hotel in Jefferson, Texas.
All right.
And I had seen another picture similar to this that a photographer that I'd used in Dallas did for another piano player, and I said I
Uh-huh.
really like that. So I put this one together myself and
There you go.
did a timer and got a picture that I've used that I need to get a more current picture so I look more like I look now. Maybe shave some of this hair off my chin.
Depends on what kind of vibe you want, buddy.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
so I want to start talking, if you don't mind. I've got some questions about. You mentioned earlier doing the dueling piano thing. Played
yeah,
bass. You played guitar. I mean, trumpet. Doing the
yeah,
piano thing. Um, what? This is a music quest,
yeah,
and everybody's relationship with music is unique to them. And
right,
obviously, people who've derived their income from music, uh, I'd say that relationship is a lot more dense and possibly complicated depending on how it works. What do you love about music, and what is what's been your motivation? And in the meantime, when you ask for that, if any of you guys in the chat want to ask any questions of Mark, now's the time to do that. You have an idea of who I'm talking to. You have some idea of kind of his background. So let some questions fire. If you don't ask any, we're fine. I got plenty to talk about, but I want to give that opportunity to people. So tell me about you and music and how it matters to you, if you don't mind.
well, I knew it at an early age that I wanted to spend a lot of time with music, and I knew what I was going to study when I went to college if I had the chance to do, and I did. I studied piano and jazz piano and uh, voice and trumpet. Uh, so it gave me a good background. But what music means to me is just there's nothing like performing music and getting some kind of feedback, or just for the. I mean, it's for me a lot of times it's therapy. Even though I'm practicing trumpet or piano or whatever to increase my how well I play, it's still a therapy for me because
So
because it what you really get out of it, knowing you're spending time studying this, is the results that you get from it.
mhm.
Because you can't just very few people can really just latch on to music and be great right off the bat. Some people like Sue was like that. She once she picked up a flute and learned fingerings and how to play, she was it was off like a rocket.
Mhm.
Some people are like that, and and so I mean, of course, you have to have some natural talent,
Mhm.
but you all also have to work at it if you're going to make it accomplish much.
So for you, the working of it is not so bad. You enjoy music so much that that investment is something that you like.
Yeah,
Or tell,
now I do. I mean, when I was growing up, I hated to practice piano. So I relied music a lot of times when I was, in elementary school and high school. You rely on your natural talent, even though you're spending time like in the high school band. You're spending time playing music, which is you're actually practicing also, um, and going with the venturing off into playing in some kind of rock and roll band, uh, like I started when I was 15. And
Well, okay, so you like music, obviously. Now, making a living of it is, we've already alluded to that, that's challenging in its own right. So
It is, yeah.
what was your process? What were kind of things that happened that were instrumental or aha moments for you when you were trying to, you know, figure out how to do this? And also the world's changed quite a bit. I mean, to
Yeah.
say the least, the systems at which the way you would go about pursuing music then is probably, I mean, there's got to be a lot of similarities, but there are also just some dynamics that are no longer the same.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
talk to me, just share with me some thoughts about that, because interested to hear what how you would describe that process for yourself.
Well, I would hate to be uh, a youngster growing up wanting to play music and figuring out how to make make some make a living doing it, because it's so different now. I would be lost, because you there's not the, like the early bands that I played with, when we were traveling on a road, you would go and spend 2 weeks at one place, or be a house band for a place, that you were the band that played there until they got tired of you after a few years and you went on, or you did something that kept the spirit alive, uh, that you weren't just doing the same thing over and over. So
I distinctly remember there being a change uh, in regards to Miriam gigging with you and your band. I don't remember
uh-huh.
the date, but she had been gigging with you for a while, but if I remember correctly, there was a month where you guys basically played every night at DFW Hotel. And there was a gelling that I think happened with that, like night after night after night for that many times in a row. Did you remember that at all, or is that just
Oh
something I
yeah.
remember?
Well, we the what happened was, there was a lull in the private party business or something, that we weren't getting all the private parties we used to get, and I'm not sure about when that was, but so we went and took a lesser paying job just to be performing every night. And I mean, this gig at the hotel at DFW really didn't pay us very much. Um, but there was not a whole lot of pressure there. We played what we wanted to and had fun doing it. And it kind of, it when you're doing that, it kind of is contagious to the crowd.
So I don't remember if this was your band or not, but my suspicion. Okay, so Brett or Brent and Brian were your rhythm section, and
Hmm.
if I remember correctly, somewhere along the line, I think I learned remotely or from the side indirectly that if things get boring or things are just not interesting, you can revitalize by taking some song and doing a reggae version of it.
Yeah, or
Does that sound familiar? Or was that you guys
yeah,
or something else I'm remembering?
those you can. I don't know about I don't remember doing a reggae version of many songs, um, but some people have done that. And like there's some friends of mine have they put together a three-piece band, uh, doing Beatle tunes bluegrass style, and it's called Beetlegrass. So
Okay, I apologize, but what entertained me about what you just said was how serious of a face you were making when you said the name of the band. It was like,
Oh,
death. This is like serious. It was a
well,
juxtaposition that made me laugh.
well, it's the guys that are playing in this band are just top-notch musicians.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so imagine them, as well as they play all the other stuff they play, is to take the time and redo Beatles songs in a bluegrass style, where it's mostly a more acoustic than
Right.
electric instruments.
Well, I mean, the whole Pickin' On series where those guys basically do that on, different, picking on Zeppelin, picking on,
Yeah.
Cream, picking on, just different bands. That just is, to me, that's a testament to how solid the underlying music is, that it translates so well. And I mean, obviously some of it's their skill in arrangement, but a lot of it's just that the fundamental song translates to different styles. So how would you describe your particular style of piano and singing? Is there a particular vein that you shoot for? Or, I mean, in your mind, stylistically, what are you looking for Mark Harrell?
Well, what the route I took when I put a band together was where we played a lot of different styles and worked on really nailing whatever style we were headed for. And so I ended up learning a lot of different piano styles, from the country Floyd Kramer stuff to the style of more jazz pianists, like Mose Allison was a jazz pianist, but he took some blues songs and made them his own. And like Oscar Peterson is a great jazz piano player, and he can play faster, play a lot of notes in a small space, but he uses a lot of mixes a lot of blues with jazz. Some of the licks he plays on piano are basically blues licks. So it's there's a run over from each style of music to the next,
Mm-hmm.
where some of them come together at a certain point.
So, but what's your preference? I mean, what do you like? When you're playing it? Now, I'm not talking about what the crowd wants or what's appropriate for the venue, because I mean, when you're making money, you want people to bring you back, so you give them what they want. But if there's not somebody out there listening, and Mark Harrell plays the style that you prefer and that you love to play, what would that be? How would you describe that?
I lean toward the blues and jazz.
Okay,
that's my favorite.
All right,
because it's actually a little more intricate than some others.
Okay. Well, we have some clips. I know that we've been talking this whole time. We've been talking about music. There's some clips here from, I'm pretty sure, we've got some audio clips I got from you, but I want to skip ahead and look at some of these video clips from a gig. And I know the guys most of the guys in the video. This does not include Miriam, but this gives people an idea of you back in the day. I'm guessing this is early 90s or something like that?
92 or 93.
Okay.
It was right before Miriam started working with us.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hit play on this if you don't mind, and we'll hopefully get the volume just right. So here we go.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
Well, life is too much. Roll with it, baby.
So I love seeing those faces. Paul playing sax.
Yeah.
He that's what I always loved about your bands is that the horns always been good, and you would expect that from a trumpet player, right?
Yeah.
So serious memories when you see those things?
Oh yeah. This was done at a local club in Arlington for as a TV show for the local channel.
There's some
So I have it on a VHS.
I've watched this. There's some serious stabilization going on in some of this video.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I still know all these guys, so
that gives everybody a little bit of a vibe from that's 30 years ago, man.
Oh yeah. Time flies. Time flies. I wish I was having fun. Yeah.
So there's a couple of other ones. There was let me see. Roll with It. We've already heard that one.
Yeah.
Where's this one? Let's see. It's All Right With Me. And
Yeah.
let's see. You've got. Let's see. And Get Real. Let's
Yeah.
Tell me about this. All Right With Me is what covers that?
That's a old jazz tune from I forget who offhand who wrote it.
It's a wrong face. It's not her face, but such a charming face that it's all right with me. It's the wrong song in the wrong style.
So tell me about. This has got two horns in it, but like I said, when I was listening to you guys, or Mary was gigging with you, you often had three. What's the standard configuration? What are you looking for as the band leader?
Well, when I put this band together, I always wanted a band that had at least two horn players in it, and that's what we had almost all the time. Right. Never more than two.
I thought you had three.
No, there was one gig we took a trombone player with us because it was requested by the client.
That's the thing about memories. You can have memories that are not accurate. So it was just sax and trumpet. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, if you
think about it.
Two instruments that blend really well are trumpet and tenor sax.
Right. Absolutely. And, well, like I said, if it's dominant 7, I could do my math properly. You got your rhythm section of you, the bass player, and the drummer. Then you've got a guitar player, got Miriam, and that's 2 left is the 2 horns. So I guess that's it. I had in my head wrong all this time.
It's okay.
Well, I mean, but like I said, one of the things that I always enjoyed as much as anything was just I'm a sucker for horns, man. I really am.
Yeah.
And the thing is that a lot of bands that have horns that weren't so good. Your horns were always good, from what I remember, always.
Well, I was in Dallas. You have such a great selection of great horn players that come out of North Texas.
Sure,
you can't miss. Can't miss.
Well, so I I think one of the things that we've talked about over time, you and I have talked more than we ever did back in the day. It was always just in passing, but you and I have talked more. And like I said, we've built a studio since we've been down here. You've
Right.
always, I helped record some stuff for some guys in your studio that you had in Arlington back in the day. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that or not, but
Yeah.
yeah, these guys. Well, we won't talk about that project, but we brought in Tom Burchell to play guitar on that, and even though it stylistically, people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, it's going to be better when Tom plays on this."
Yeah.
So, and it was a lot better. What has been your experience, good and bad, over the years dealing with all the gear from a gigging standpoint, and then trying to do your own studios and all that kind of stuff? What are some of the takeaways? Like, I'll never do that again, or that was the best decision I ever made. You got anything like that to share, wisdom wise?
Well, it was not a good move for me to try to put together the studio that I ended up with unless you it's booked all the time or you won't make money. And plus, when I put this together, it was when the technology was going through a whirlwind of change. Um, Sometimes daily, sometimes the next month you might there. It's when uh, analog tape was going out and digital was coming in, but there were so many versions of digital tape, digital whatever, that a lot of people like me ended up with some equipment that nobody wants, and it will probably not make a resurgence. With some things, what goes around comes back around, like people making vinyl records now. I doubt that the digital tape machines will ever come back to prominence like they did, and because they appeared and then disappeared as quick as they appeared, and so now everything is done. There's no tape at all, which you're doing
Right.
digital. It's all
Hard drive.
song. Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is you had not the most positive experience, mainly because of what was happening, and just
Technology.
the technology was in such It was very much an upheaval during that period of time. Clearly, we've had recording. Like I said, our first recording equipment was reel to reel, a little 8-channel, 1/4-inch Tascam. And then we didn't really do a whole lot of multi-tracking on digital until it really had already kind of switched. I remember making some ADAT, and there was another one that was a digital master you could put on a VHS tape. I forget what that was called.
A DA88.
So we did some of that, and like I said, I remember that, but yeah, it's a recording studio, making money with one. I don't know how people do that.
It's a money pit.
It is. You got to want one because you want one, and that's what we have here. Is the best studio we've ever had is built here right now. I mean, quality wise and all that kind of stuff. It's a function of our son, really getting into that. But it is challenging to find the sweet spot for what you're doing. You've been recording some original music of your own for fun, and yet you're looking at going to release some of it for your fan base, or I mean, what have you recorded it where you're at right now? Where some of the tracks you sent me, it's all been done there at your house. Is that correct?
It's all been done right here.
Okay. And are the songs you shared with me, are they all originals?
All but one of them.
Okay, that's what I thought. Let me back up here. So I loaded a bunch up that we could click on and let people. Here's the problem. You're going to help me navigate this. Okay.
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 tunes. We're not listening to the entire length of these.
That's good. Yeah.
Times 14.
I didn't expect you to, but I wanted to give you some because of the way I've played music for so many years, I've developed where I can nail different styles. So obviously the songs that I've written, some have been in different styles.
Sure.
So there you have it.
So the ones that are listed as horns, those are the ones that you are playing the horns on, as well as the rest of it. So those are specifically to let people hear, like, hey, I can play the trumpet, kind of, or really well, depending on how you want to say it.
Yeah.
So you up for listening to a couple of these? They're not named, so it's going to be kind of exciting. Grab bag, see what we get. So these are ones that you played. So this is the one that is not the original.
I can only give you
That's
love that lasts forever.
We did this, me and my brother Tony played this at a wedding 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Yeah. And on this recording, I played bass, piano, and trumpet and sang. That's actually a flugelhorn, not a trumpet.
Okay. So this other one, horn-wise. Oh, I clicked on the wrong button again. All right, so I forgot that I have to turn off. If I hit play on all these, it would be a cacophony because they would all play at the same time. Here's the other one that you playing horns on. So
yeah, I played bass on that one also, real bass.
Okay, here's some piano.
Yeah.
So you basically, when you start off on a song, it kind of tells you after the fact, or tells you in the process, the style. You just kind of know. You're not worried about, I'm going to do a country song or I'm going to do a jazz song. It's just the song comes out and it knows what it is to begin with, or how does that work?
Well, most of them, the style is decided for when I'm writing it.
So you decide up front, I'm going to write a jazz song. Well,
I start a song and then and depending on how it's coming together,
so it discovers it. Yeah.
Then I would just kind of discover what style that I would like it to be played in. So
right. Well, the reason why I'm showing everybody this page is that I'm going to publish this page along with those other pictures and stuff on the page with this actual stream after the fact, so you're able to sit and listen to these in their entirety. Now, you love jazz and blues, so I'm going to play a little of this jazz one. So let's try another one too.
Okay.
I am all stressed out, need to take a break, so I took a little trip down to Caddo Lake. The Rocket Club, that's where I'll be. A little uncertain looking back at me, but the place I really need to be. Please just take me. 420 highway, take me, set me free. 420 highway, that's where I wanna be. 420 highway, high in the sky, that's where I'll be. I'm headed back north on the plane tonight, gonna see my baby make it.
So everybody can listen to more of that, but
Yeah.
that is East Texas, east of down DFW.
This was I'll tell you about the lyrics of this song. It was I wrote it. The 420 has a meaning to it.
It's coming up.
Has to do
420's
with
coming up.
yeah, it has to do with smoking weed. So I mean, so that's the reason I chose that particular line in the song. But the lyrics come from three different places. It comes from three different clubs that I've played over the years.
Uh-huh.
The first one was called the Rocket Club. It was the first nightclub I ever played when I was 15 years old. And our parents had to go there with us. And so in the first song we played at this club, there was a fight started. A chair started thrown across the floor. So this is the kind of place that was.
Okay.
Called the Rocket Club. And then the next one talks about coming back to Canada, to Winnipeg. There's a place called the High and Lonesome Club. It's kind of a hole in the wall looking, but they put out some good music, and I played for there a couple of times. And then the third place talks about a place I played in Jefferson called the Nightlight. So
to honor and remember. I don't know about honor, but remember different places and the vibe. So you like the jazz? Let me play a couple of these blues tunes. Let me see if I can pull those up. I don't know which one this one is, so see what we get here. Thought I hit play.
Sipping on a cup of joe in my favorite coffee shop. Feeling kinda down, Lord, please make it stop. My mind keeps drifting to a place I used to know. Talking about my hometown from a long time ago. I got these melancholy, missing my hometown blues. Yeah, hometown, my hometown, missing my hometown blues.
You gotta love the blues, man.
Oh yeah.
There's so many things you do with those chords.
Yeah, and that's all the horns on there are from my sound, sound
modules.
Sound modules. So, but the way you get where they pretty much sound like what they are.
Yep.
But the way to do it is you play each horn separately on a different track.
Right.
And then put them together.
Yeah. And it helps to have an idea of what horns are supposed to sound like.
Yeah. And
it's a little helpful.
Yeah, and how to arrange them, thanks to my score and arranging teacher. Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems clear to me that your musical experience has been broad in that multiple instruments, not, definitely engaged all of them in a significant way. Formal training as far as arranging, understanding theory, and then over the years writing original stuff as far as interpreting popular songs, business, doing the studio thing, but also running a band, being responsible for the booking and all the gear and the contracts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that is the professional music life. What parts of that have been the most challenging, and what parts have been the most fulfilling? How would you describe that? Because it's a big combination of things, and it's like there's certain sandwiches that you can. I mean, this happens in a lot of ways, but I think of certain sandwiches where you've got this kind of bread, you put all these ingredients together, and it tastes this very unique way. Like you can see the components, but the way they were put together creates a certain experience. So what from your years of doing this kind of melded together in ways that you did not anticipate and might have been better than you ever guessed? I mean, how does that work? I mean, because this is your life. You're probably like a fish swimming in water, and it's just so much part of your life. It's hard to see, but I'm trying to get you to kind of describe it for people who have no idea what this is like.
Well, the hardest part was probably running your band or your whatever you're doing as a business, because the music part can come easy for you if you prepared yourself and studied and practiced and all that. The business part is unfortunately, when I was going to school, there was no business courses for music business. Now a lot of schools have courses strictly for how to run something in a music business. So I had to learn the business part on my own and listen to other people and trial and error. So
did you use booking agents a lot or not?
Well, in Dallas Fort Worth, I did.
Did you have multiples or just one?
I sent out my resume or press kit, whatever you want to call it, to all of the major booking agencies, and ended up working with quite a few of them. You can't just use one unless your band is successful enough in an area that you have a manager that deals with all the bookings. I did it all myself, basically, but I mean, I worked through booking agents, but I also sent out cold letters to large companies and got some of the work like that. But the booking agents help really score some of the big company parties, for the stuff like American Airlines and what used to be Braniff Airlines, and who else we played for. In the big oil company things, I worked with some local large oil companies and company parties. And
so in those, okay, like I said, you're talking about a lifetime worth of stuff. At this point, would you be willing to maybe share some random crazy stories, stuff that happened in real life that may not have anything to do with necessarily the music, as much as just stuff that happened while you've been doing this? Maybe as the dueling piano stuff, or maybe these corporate gigs. You got any favorite memories or things like this happened? Anything? Story time? Got anything for me?
Well,
PG, please.
I had a bride that passed out before the service. which put everything out of schedule.
So let me get this straight. The way you just told this story is that the main thing, even though that was probably a significant thing in that person's life, as far as you're concerned, it just screwed up the schedule.
Well, and it was. And here's another funny story. We used to play Christmas parties for a gay couple, and they were Jewish. So now a lot of Jewish people, go along with Christmas and help people celebrate either way, whether it's Jewish or Christian. But this particular Jewish gay couple had us play a Christmas party for them, and they said, play all Christmas songs and put all these Jews on the spot. They wanted to really, I don't know, but they got a kick out of.
They just wanted to
us
jack with their
playing nothing
friends.
but Christmas songs for a Jewish crowd. So,
well, they're paying the bills, man.
They had a ball doing it, and it's we did a bunch of parties for them, and in fact, we ended up playing we had quite a Jewish clientele that hired us a lot.
Miriam told me some stories about playing with some of those. She had some good stories about,
there's well, we used to play a Shriners party in Fort Worth every year, and it was talk about a drunk fest. These guys were just tied one on, and so we pretty much joined in the party. And another one was at a Jewish synagogue, had a party there for, I forget what it was for, but they were also and invite us to join the party. So we sent Miriam out to buy some beer, and we iced it down in one of Brent's drum cases. Let's see what else. It's a lot of things. You were invited to join in the party, and we did.
You got to find a balance. You got to be able to finish the gig.
You can't just you have to know that you're expected to do that, and instead of just insisting going ahead with this and doing it anyway, whether it's where the client is gonna agree with you or not, or get pissed off at you because you were drinking, you were partying too much. So
it's about balance. It's all about balance.
There's a fine line to walk. And
I think I'm going to start wrapping it up, Mark. I really appreciate you taking time to hang out and
it's fun
share a little bit of your background.
And it's fun talking to you and remembering some of these things. And I'm really thankful for getting to work with some really top-notch musicians from Dallas, Fort Worth, and from Nashville, because I've hung out in Nashville a lot with my brother Tony, and
we didn't even talk about that stuff. That's a whole nother thing.
He played on one of the albums I did, and his favorite rhythm section there in Nashville played on 3 or 4 of them.
Cool.
Plus, Tony and I did two albums of music together that got a lot of airplay on TV commercials and TV shows and that kind of thing. So I didn't get into some of those recordings, but they were top-notch stuff.
I pulled up. Actually, I meant to do this earlier, but I forgot. Let's see if I can even find it now. There was
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One of the pop songs I did, I wrote for Sue when I met her in Aspen.
Well, what I was going to do is I pulled up one of your website, and it had some old audio demos, and one of the ones on there. Now you got to understand, you've been on Mother Merm's channel a lot, just listening, hanging out, and so some of the people, there's a lot. The vast majority of people who would ever know or come to this channel, it would be through Mother Merm's channel.
Yeah.
So I was going to hit play on Miriam singing one of the songs with your band back in the day from the demo thing, and they've only heard Miriam playing the piano and singing herself.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, I want to hit play on this. Is that cool?
Which one is it?
I was going to go with Respect, because that was her song. You good with that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
All right. So let's see what we can hear here.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect. Can you do me, when you come home with me, darling? Just a little bit. Ain't gonna do wrong while you're gone. Ain't gonna do wrong, 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect. When you come with me, when you come to me, when you come to me, just a little bit. R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T.
That was one of those short demos that you put on your page.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's back in the day. There was a specific way she sang Respect that is like brings back lots of memories.
Yeah, she does it. Does it first class. Yep.
Well, like I said, I forgot, but the reason why I want to play that is, like I said, a lot of people on here know Miriam, and hopefully that will cement in their brain that Miriam was singing. That was your band with her singing, and like I said, they never get to hear her sing with a big band, so it's fun. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you hanging out with us. I am glad that you do hang out with us on Mother Merm's channel sometime, and maybe some of the people that watch this in the future or hear it right now, they'll know who it is when we start talking about Mark Harrell in the chat.
Yeah, and you're going to post these songs where people can pull them up and play them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there was 2 or 3 songs that Sue played flute on.
Oh, okay.
That are on there.
All right. Well, like I said, I'll publish this on a page that has links, anything you want to add to that. Like we can add to, if you want to point people to this or that, when you get your album like you want it, we can point to that. So this page will be there, and part of it will be an edited version of what we're doing right now. But then I'll also have other stuff on it as well. And we can add and take away or whatever you want to do to that page going forward. Okay. Is that cool? And that way you can point your fans and people, to it as well. So what we're going to do, guys, I'm not doing it as often as I'd like to and do it properly, but I ask the Thought Storms to help me find somebody that we're going to go raid. And so when you get there, say hi, encourage people to show up. I think that this is how you do it. If I remember correctly. So, guys, say hi. And we appreciate Mark Harrell, and we're going to call this good for right now. So make some noise when you get there. Mark, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up now, and we're going to call it good. So thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you some more later, okay?
Thank you, Matt. I've enjoyed it, and we'll do it again.
Fantastic. Thanks, bud.
All right. Bye.